Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today we'll be discussing Chapter 6 of Whither Are We Traveling? Subdivided We Stand.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we have very worshipful brother David Colbeth from King Solomon Lodge number 160 in Auburn, Washington. Worshipful brother Stephen Chung from Prince Charles 153 in Kelowna, BC. I'm Matt Appel, and I'm with Mill Creek 243. We meet in Motley Terrace, Washington, and we have worship brother Jarrod Dunham from Penticton 147 in Penticton, British Columbia. So today's chapter from Whither Are We Traveling paper is Subdivided We Stand, which is about membership in other organizations that are appended to Masonry, appended bodies, and I never what is that? There's appendant bodies, and there's another name
appendant
for
and concordant.
There you go, concordant bodies. And I never understood what's the
appendant.
At least it's not just me.
Well, no. The problem is I can never remember which one is one is related to the other one is you have to be a master mason to belong. Like I think I can't remember the exact terminology, but it's things like up here in Canada, the Royal Arch, the Scottish Rite, and the Shrine are concordant bodies, whereas Eastern Star and all the other ones are appendant bodies. Is that or something?
I think it's the other way around.
It might be the other way around, but that's how it. That's the thing is that just get rid of all of them.
So now that we've established definitively that we know what we're talking about for Working Tools Podcast today, I guess the very last thing we talked about, actually may have been after we finished recording that on our last episode, was that Jarrod had asked it earlier in the episode, why are people members who aren't involved? Why would they bother continuing to pay their dues? And one of the things we talked about was, well, because they're a member of insert body here, the Shrine or the York Rite, Scottish Rite, whatever it is, they're a Rainbow Dad, and they keep up their membership in their lodge because they have to be a member of that group. And so here we are encountering those other groups.
So I think I'm okay with the if you want to call it the concordant groups. Those that aren't, I would say the appendant meaning attached, like appendant. I know it's not pendant, but it's appendant. But if we call those like the attached ones, there we have to be a Mason. Whereas the concordant groups, those are maybe a Mason has to be there, but they aren't populated by Masons. Youth groups, the ladies groups, things like that. So the Masons aren't necessarily drawn away from the Blue Lodge. I think there's a avenue, there's a benefit to those organizations that don't draw away the Masons' attention so much. Maybe crickets. Jared's not opposed. Okay, well, I'll move on.
I guess I think this in my mind sort of falls under what I was talking about again in the last episode, that whatever people form a shooting group or a RVing group or whatever within your lodge, if there's a guy who wants to be I'm going to pick on the Shrine because I'm not a member, and so therefore I have no information whatsoever about it and can speak unknowledgeably about it. But if you have a guy who wants to do whatever the Shrine does, they want to be involved with hospitals, and my Blue Lodge isn't involved with hospitals, so maybe they go join the Shrine and they have a great time over there. Maybe they wouldn't be a Mason otherwise. I guess I'm okay with that.
And I'd be okay with them too, as long as they come back to the Blue Lodge.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, we had that challenge. We had a fellow come through, and he was quite clear as we put him through the 6-step process, no, I'm here to become a Shriner. I'm not here for a Blue Lodge, and I don't have that much extra time, but I appreciate what the Shrine did for my family, and that's what I want to be a part of. And we really debated it as in the membership committee as to whether or not to take this fellow in and put him through his degrees so that he could become a Shriner. And it was like ultimately we did, and he's just a member paying a dues paying member on our list that we consider is a guy who just doesn't live with us because he's never coming to our lodge, right? He doesn't come for anything, right? But he does, and he is active with the Shrine and doing good work with them. So I think personally that why should I stop somebody from becoming part of the appendant body? To me, I needed to support that, right? Because it was a worthy reason or goal, or it was his. When you say it was a worthy purpose to support.
He wanted to try to pay back in some way, I suppose, but I don't know in that particular case. That's a tough one.
It really was. It really was. It was a lot of debate.
But masonry shouldn't be a channel to something else, in my opinion. It's unfortunate that the Shrine has that feature. I guess. I mean, a lot of people twist my words and say, "Well, yeah, that's why the Shrine should break away from masonry, and you can just be a Shriner without having to be a Mason." Okay, maybe. I don't know that I'd agree with that, but whatever. I guess what frustrates me is the guys that do that. They come in only to be a Shrine, or maybe they even kind of pretend like they want to be in Blue Lodge, and then they never come back again. And all they really want to be is part of the appendant group. I appreciate the guys that are heavily involved in those organizations that are also heavily involved in their Blue Lodge. And I mean, in our case, there's my mentor, Al Jorgensen. He's the Sovereign Grand Inspector General of the Scottish Rite, but he is at every meeting. He is at a lot of our social events. He's heavily involved in our Blue Lodge activities, but he's the Grand Master for Scottish Rite. So, I mean, and he's also in other organizations, but he's and there are several guys in our lodge that way that are involved in other organizations, but they are at our events and really tied into lodge.
Well, we've had other guys come in that wanted to join for the Scottish Rite in particular, and the odd one has come in and said, I'm really interested in the York Rite, and I've kind of coached him, if you will, on the process, and said, hey, I understand that that's your reason for wanting to join, but I think you'll be doing yourself a big disservice if you don't at least regularly attend your Blue Lodge, because that's where the foundation is for all of it, right? So, and those guys do. I think the two that I can think of that in the last 10 years that joined for Scottish Rite, they're active in our lodge, and they're active in Scottish Rite as well. So I think the bigger problem is when you start joining multiple appendant bodies and you really don't have time and you spread yourself too thin, because then you also get burnout and then they don't come to anything. That's why we always tell them when they join, hey, you're going to be hit up by the Shrine, you're going to be hit up by York Rite, you're going to be hit up by Scottish Rite, and everybody's going to want you to join, right? And how much time do you have, right? And it's made for interesting conversations, that's for sure.
And the cost of those organizations as well. Some of these guys are the first to complain about the cost of dues when they're a member of 5 lodges and 6 appendant groups.
Yeah, right. Well, I know one guy, he's a member of 13 different lodges, right? I mean, the amount of dues he pays could buy him a
Just
car every month.
just imagine if he funneled that amount of money into one lodge, how the potential there would be in that one lodge.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in all fairness, I think he was a guy who moved around a lot for work, and so he did join lodges. But I mean, to maintain those memberships, no, I'm not a big supporter of that, right? Because it does stretch a guy a little thin, right?
And that also leads to lodges with large numbers, as see chapter 5.
Yeah.
I will say, just on a separate note, that it irks me as a nitpicky jerkface. It irks me that the phrase he uses is subdivided we stand. Was he subdivided we stand, and subdivided I fear we shall fall, he says. But it should be one way or the other. Either united we stand, or divided we fall. Isn't that the original way it's phrased? Subdivided we stand, and subdivided we fall. I don't know which is the bad one. I don't know. So that just annoyed me.
I think the title is just a reference to the fact that we are a divided organization. Freemasonry is divided in multiple fashions through appendant groups and concordant groups and time and affinity lodges and affiliate lodges and cops and robbers and all that.
I mean, I'll say, as a member of a lodge that meets literally in a shrine building, when we moved there, one of my concerns was, and to a lesser degree still is, that we essentially become the shrine feeder lodge. That the people go in and say, "Hey, I want to be a Shriner," and the shrine says, "Okay, well, you got to join a lodge first. Look, there they are," and then you join our lodge and then disappear into the shrine. And it hasn't happened yet. I mean, we haven't seen a gigantic, whatever, influx of members that then disappear into the shrine, but it is something I think about sometimes.
He comments about the idea that he waited 3 years before submitting his petition to the Southern organization, and it's similar to what I did. I waited till I was done with the East to consider any involvement in other groups. And I'll be honest, while I became a Scottish Rite Mason, I haven't been to any. I think I've been to 2 meetings in 4 years, other than reunions, mostly because they meet on Tuesday nights, which are D. Malay night. If I'm going to go to a meeting, that's what I go to. But it just was interesting that earlier he said that, a lot of people are, like Steve was saying, that they're waiting for you basically to get your interdependence degree so they can start talking to you about the real question or the real answer or the next steps, whatever. Well, why isn't that stuff being taught right in Blue Lodge? There's really no secret as a Master Mason that we can't know all the information that York Rite and Scottish Rite and Shrine and everybody else has to offer.
Not Freemasonry. I'm sorry. There's 3 degrees and 3 degrees only. All these appendant and concordant bodies, all they do is they suck people and resources out of the Blue Lodge. They're only there. Oh, I'm really going to get in trouble for this statement. They're only there because people want to get higher degrees to make themselves feel better. In case you hadn't told, on all the time I've been on, I am not a fan of the concordant and appendant bodies.
And again, I guess I think they served a purpose and maybe still potentially have. Well, in the past, when you have 500 members, they had to do something with them. And so
make more lodges.
Well, I agree. Yeah, I agree.
The appendant, especially the Scottish and the York Rite exist because people want higher degrees because they think that there's more out there. And they were originally, originally the York Rite, they were selling degrees.
Right. Exactly.
So no, there's 3 degrees in Freemasonry. Everything else is just a distraction.
And I guess that's what argument I've said to him is, why aren't you teaching this information in the Blue Lodge?
Because it's not pertinent.
I don't know. General knowledge is pertinent, isn't it? I mean,
well, yeah, but what are we going to start teaching? General knowledge things in the lodge too? Lodges?
Well, I mean, I don't want to say general. I meant more like Masonic general knowledge. What are the York Rite? What are the Scottish Rite teaching that beyond the 3 degrees, so to speak, that can't be taught in Blue Lodge? That shouldn't be. I think all that continuous desire for knowledge.
Right. Well, my understanding, as I'm not a member of any of them, My understanding is that the York Rite is based on the Second Temple in Jerusalem, not Solomon's Temple. Like the whole story behind it is that. So they've just taken a different story and gone, I'm like, it's not I'm really going to get in trouble. I'm sure there are people listening to this right now that are just going to kill me. But yeah, no, it's not more information. It's just different information on a different story. I mean, you guys are all in the Scottish Rite. You know what the stories are for that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
can't
all
talk
right
about
there.
it. Yeah. Look, exactly. But like, so what's the point?
I get it. That's, again, to me, I think a lot of the guys, it's a new social circle. It's a social circle outside of their Blue Lodge.
I know, but okay, it's fine. It's fine to have social circles out. I belong to a group that we get together every week, dressed in funny clothes and hit each other with swords. Should I complain about the cost of that in my Blue Lodge, saying, oh, well, my dues can't go up because I've got to pay my SCA membership fee? And that's what it sounds like to me. My year in the East was so frustrating because every time I tried to do something, the words that keep coming out of people's, well, we can't. There's a shrine meeting that day.
Well, but if you're SCA,
yeah, SCA.
If your SCA membership had a requirement that you had to be a Mason to be a member.
I know, but that's my problem, is that all these appendant and concordant bodies, they should be separate, completely separate. The Scottish Rite can go right from 1 to 32.
That was a Freudian slip.
Yeah, the Scottish Rite has the first 3 degrees as part of their. So they don't have to be a part of regular craft Freemasonry. They just.
So, do we think that they came out of there was already a base, so let's use them as a marketing platform, basically?
I think it's okay, because the Scottish Rite as it is right now is started in the South and was further adapted by our friend Mr. Pike, and it was a separate body. Like it was a separate. It's the same thing as the Danish Rite. Danish Rite is completely separate from craft. What we know is English craft Freemasonry. I guess European craft Freemasonry.
Swedish.
Yeah, Swedish. Theirs is. I mean, the one thing that I do is you have to be a Christian to join that. So it kind of defeats one of our major tenets, is that But where was I going with it? I have no idea. So I think the problem is you get people that want to join organizations, and they want their wives to be part of something that they do. So they created the Eastern Star, and they want their kids to be part of something. So they create, Job's Daughters and the Demolay, and it's a matter of dad wants everyone to be part of something that he enjoys, instead of dad has something he enjoys without other people being around.
Do you think it was that way, or do you think it was the other way? There were Eastern Star, for example, would have, you don't think the wives are saying, hey, I want to be part of what you're doing?
And my understanding is that the Eastern, and once again, I mean, I've read some, and if I'd really prepared for this, I would have read a bit more, is that the Eastern Star was created because the founder of the Eastern Star wanted to have something he could do with his wife, like for Masonic to do with his wife, and they created the Eastern Star. The shrine was created because a bunch of Masons wanted to get together and party, and when they were partying too much, they had to create the hospitals to rehabilitate their image. Oh, Shriners are really coming after me now. But so I mean, and what got me into this article is, what are the 70 splinter organizations that are linked to free? I'm like, I can't. I tried, and I coming up with as many as I could, but he must be talking about things like the Order of the Jesters and the
if we had one of our previous hosts, Connor, if you listen to this one, you're the man, because I think you've got about 69 out of that 70. Every day, every time I open Facebook, he's got a new medal or a new thing he's part of.
Right, and I'm like, what's the point?
But he also wants to be the youngest Grand Master in history in our jurisdiction.
He needs to hurry up, doesn't he? He's not getting any younger. I'm glad that if Jared's listening, I'm glad to see that he's doing well and with a new career and everything. But there's a lot of new things. Some of these orders that he's got, I have never heard. I mean, of course, it's Canada, not United States, but I have never heard of some of these things. And there's a meeting for everything, and there's a outfit for everything, and there's a jewel for everything, and
once again, it's just it's people collecting baubles.
And I agree with some of what Jarrod says, in as much as I know, shock. I mean, you can trace the history of Scottish Rite to whatever the itinerant degree salesman that would go around and sell degrees. That's why there's whatever the 4 different bodies within Scottish Rite and all that sort of stuff, because eventually they shoved them all together into one thing of Scottish Rite. I do have to say, in again, if you're playing your Working Tools podcast bingo, Appel wanting data on things, one of my longtime soapboxes has been the Grand Lodge knows where the Masons are, and they know where the appendant body groups are. So I would be curious to know if the lodges that are, for instance, closer to having a Scottish Rite body within whatever 5 miles of your lodge, or having a shrine within 10 miles of your lodge, whatever choose the body and choose the distance, having youth groups meet in your building. Does this help the lodge? Does this make your lodge more successful, have better membership, better retention, or does it hurt the lodge? And because I'm sure I've told this story before, within the space of a week once, when I guess it was right after I was master the first time, somebody came up to me and said, you know what's killing Masonry is the appendant bodies, because we have all these Masons, they join and they go join whatever York Rite, and we never see them again, and it's killing Blue Lodge Masonry. Oh, the Masonry is going to die. And then within the space of a week, someone else came up to me and said, you know what is saving Masonry right now? If it weren't for the Shrine and all these other groups that people join Blue Lodge Masonry, and then they join these groups, nobody would be a Mason anymore, and that's what's saving Masonry. Otherwise, we'd be dead by now. And so I would love to see some analysis, some basic statistical analysis. Does a lodge that meets in the same building as a Scottish Rite group, do they have better retention? Do they have worse retention? Do they recycle masters more often? Whatever your standard of success is, I would love to see the actual numbers on these things, because there's a lot of assertions of a young man, sure, I'm a member of whatever lodge, but only because I have to be in Blue Lodge. It doesn't mean a thing to me, and that sort of stuff. And does that help or hurt? I don't know is the answer. I wish I had data.
And if I could strategically press pause, I would magically be able to insert a link and insert specific data, because there actually is a pretty good couple of videos on retention. And of course, it's presented by a Scottish Rite Mason. And so it's probably, as my grandpa used to say, figures lie and liars figure. But he's a statistician, and he goes through exactly that idea of basically the short story is, and I'm going to do horribly here, the faster you get somebody connected with an appendant group, the more sticky they are, the longer they stay in Masonry, based on the numbers. And then the next, it was either half hour. His was either half hour, and then the next half hour was the Indiana guys that have 1 day degrees, and they were talking about 1 day degrees and how sticky they were as well. It was either an hour each or a half hour each. I don't remember now. But if I could find that, I'll try to remember and stick it into the show notes. But it's actually a pretty good. Now it's a little older now, a little aged in information a few years ago. But it was interesting to hear how. Now, I don't think he was advocating that as an apprentice that they should start looking at an appendant group, but they were certainly saying the sooner they became a member of these groups, the more they felt connected. Now, my argument was, why aren't they connected to their Blue Lodge? What isn't their Blue Lodge providing for them? Lots of questions about why do they need this additional feature?
Well, and when they say sticky, are they meaning they maintain their membership, or they're actually participating in their regular? I hate using the term their lodge.
Yeah, I don't think.
Is it that if you join an appendant body, because you have to maintain your membership, right? But if they don't see you in lodge, that's once again it's a money membership only, and those are nice, but that's not what we need.
And I think in an Appel data format, they could only work off the data, right? They didn't do a survey or a specific interview to get those information, but all you can do is work off of retention numbers.
But in my mind, then the information is flawed, because we're not arguing that they don't maintain their membership. What we're arguing is that they don't come to lodge.
Yeah.
Where we really desperately need them to, help out and stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's also got to do with, providing that right experience, or giving them a better experience, a better reason to be coming to our, business meetings.
Oh, well, I don't argue that. I'm not talking about whether or not the meetings are worthy of being attended. That's a totally separate issue that we've probably beat a dead horse with a cat and a cow. With what I'm talking about is the people that are that, like, the problem that we have is with the membership that are just like, I'm having a hard time formulating my thought here. I'm going to go back to the old one of it. It bothers me when I'm made to feel bad because I only belong to craft Freemasonry. I hate to use that term, but, and when you can't organize anything because everyone, like, it's the acceptance of people say, we want to run another meeting. Well, I can't because we've got the shrine that day, but you don't get the same. Well, I can't because I've got an SCA event, or, I can't, I've got to go to a Rotary thing. Like they're all the same thing. What is your priority? Like dependent bodies, other organizations, we all join things. Is that, it's, you need, if you're joining a lodge, you should, like, if being part of craft for a Blue Lodge is what you need to be a member of the other organizations, it's going to hurt Craft Lodge because you're only there in name only. And that's why I always say, cut them free. Let them, if you want to be a Shriner, don't make them be a Mason.
So by that logic, would we prohibit Masons, or prohibit isn't the right way to phrase it, but would we not want Masons to be members of whatever, the Lions or the Kiwanis or the, pick your other group, the SCA?
I have no, stop picking on my group. I have no, but what I'm saying is that, no, it's requiring them to be a Mason to be a member of those other groups. That's the problem. And the attitude that comes from joining, specifically Scottish Rite, I've seen, where, I'm a 32nd degree Scottish Rite, big shit deal. There's 3 degrees and 3 degrees only. You're gonna have to bleep that out there, David.
I do. So if someone is a member of the shrine and never goes into their Blue Lodge, how is that hurting their Blue Lodge any more than if they were a member of the Kiwanis and never showed up to their Blue Lodge?
It's probably not, but why are we it's not. It's the membership number thing that's bothering me. Is that, but why are they forced? Why would you force someone to be a member of something just to be a member of another thing? Like, I think the bodies need to look at that. And, like, are they actually providing something that is necessary? Well, that's not the right thing to say. I don't know. Yeah.
Providing that experience that is a draw.
Well, I think the thing is it's just the fact that I get tired. My problem, and I am tired today. I'm just tired of hearing people say they can't do things in Lodge because of other things. Because of other appendant bodies sucking them away from Lodge. Like it's a legit, like we should feel that they're still being, okay, yeah, I'm really going to get killed on this one. That they're still being Freemasons when they're not doing Freemasonry.
Yeah.
Because they're doing Scottish Rite or
how
something
do
else.
they do that?
Because they're not helping in their Lodge.
Yeah, it does frustrate me still when somebody says, yeah, I can't do that because it's Scottish Rite, or you can't do that because it's some other. Oh, really? You couldn't be in that group if you weren't at the Blue Lodge, as part of the Blue Lodge. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, in our jurisdiction, we try and, we use the district calendar so that things aren't booked, the same Saturday. You can't have two different organizations having an event because they just won't show up.
Yeah, but you don't do that with the Lions or the Rotary. It shouldn't, like, we shouldn't be tiptoeing around this the way that we do.
True. I agree.
So, but that's just my humble opinion.
I think we all agree.
Yeah.
Greater or lesser degrees. So, having achieved such unanimity and concord, let us depart the scene here. Declare victory and depart the field, like a good sword swinging battle master here. So, on behalf of, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. So, on behalf of David
member
and
of
Jarrod
the, member of the SCA.
There you go. Whatever kingdom it is you're a member of. I can only assume you're some sort of nobility in your local area. But
Nope.
oh, excellent. Anyway, so on behalf of Stephen and Jarrod and David and myself, thank you all for listening. As always, please feel free to comment on the social media or YouTube or wherever. Send us an email, whatever floats your boat. We'd like to hear from you guys. So thank you for listening, and we look forward to talking to you next time on the Working Tools Podcast. Goodbye.